9:45, so I'll get you right on. But Ross in Telford. Ross, tell us your story, and thanks for waiting. Morning.
No problem. Hi, Nikki. I hope you're well. Yes.
Fine, thanks, yeah.
I'd like to give a bit of background first, because I think it helps with the human element, because you hear a lot of ideology at the moment about everyone's lazy and 50% of people don't want to work. But I was born with a rare muscle condition, and I've been disabled since birth. Now, from leaving school till the age of 30, I went to college, university, and I worked full-time as a graphic designer. I have a master's degree in advertising, and I absolutely love my job. It's what I trained to do, and I'm passionate about graphics and illustration and all that kind of thing. And I managed to tick off some really big career goals, and I worked for some big UK brands. And when I got to 30, I asked for a high-back chair at an office I worked in because I was suffering as I was getting older with my disability getting worse. And cutting a long story short, it was easy for the company to make me redundant than it was to get me a chair. And the day that they sent me on gardening leave, the office chair that they'd ordered for me was put back in a box and was sent back to the stationery company for a refund. So that's the sort of work we live in. And so when people say that disabled people don't want to work, I want to work. I trained really hard to do what I did. I was told in school that college would be a waste of my time. You know, I had PE teachers that when I couldn't run laps because of my disability would call me lazy, the lazy disabled person. That's what we're known as, you know. And it's a thing with society, it seems to be, that disabled people are the cat to kick. And you have a look back to history, far-right governments tend to normally kick the cat, which is the disabled people, just to see what they can get away with. And once they've done it to us, they will come for you as well. And it's starting to really worry me. Now, I'm not a lefty by any means. I'm probably centre-right. I voted Conservative in the past, haven't voted Conservative for many years now, because of this very reason, this shift to the far right. And being a disabled person, I'm genuinely concerned about the way this country is going. Now, my disability, I would love to work, but I don't know how I'm going to feel on a day-to-day basis. For instance, I woke up this morning and I can hardly move my left leg. Now, if I get a job in graphics, and I'd love one, if there's anyone out there who's looking for a 40-year-old graphic designer who can turn up sporadically as and when it suits them, please get in touch and I'll happily work. I'm in Telford, in Shropshire, you know, happy to drive where I can. But what happens when I call up my boss on a Tuesday and say, I'm really sorry, I can't come in today because I can't get out of bed? Do they pay my wages, or then do I go on statutory sick pay, which is £109? How do I feed my family on £109? And then doesn't it take 6 weeks to come in through Universal Credit? So what happens there? And when I was made redundant at age 30, it really hit me hard because I'd never been out of work before and I'd never had to go to the job centre as a disabled person. I'd actually always been headhunted from one job to the other, and I'd always got employment that way. And when I had to go to the job centre for the first time, and I was basically just thrown on the medical scrap heap of like, we don't really care about you anymore. And what happened? How do I get a job when I don't know when I can work? How do I feed my family? And when that happened to me age 30, because I spiraled quite badly with my mental health, I did the calculations of like, is it, you know, I've got life insurance. Is it better off for my family that I wasn't around? Now, I don't know if anyone out there's ever done that calculation,
Whoa.
but it's when you sit down and you think to yourself, well, I'm now a drain on my family.
So do you think that, I mean,
cash in?
the language here is so delicate, isn't it? And some people might say it's almost worth actually taking the, you know, making the outlay so that, and of course there will be some people, a minority of people doing what that lovely guy said just before the news, but it's so dangerous to go into this territory because of the inevitable demonization that you've been speaking about. Do you think, have you ever been called a skiver? Yeah.
I've been falsely reported, and that's something that happens to disabled people too. Someone, for instance, I have a YouTube channel called Grow Your Own Life. Sorry, shameless plug. And I have an allotment, and I do metal detecting and stuff on days when I can. And it's all about showing disabled people to get outside and do something, because locking yourself away in a room and thinking I can't be out in society because I claim benefits puts you in a dangerous, dark place. I've been in that dangerous, dark place, and I've been on the radio before. And I spoke to people, and I've said that having a little allotment with my chickens saved my life, because I got to go out and feed my chickens. And this language that gets bandied around, it happens all. I can pull up in a disabled bay at the local supermarket, and because I'm 40, let's say, and I don't, from the outside, look disabled. I hate that term, but that's what people use that term. You don't look disabled. People come up and they will tut. That's the worst one, I think. Sometimes I'd rather people come up and say something, because normally when they come up and say, you don't look disabled, my reply is, you don't look stupid, but here we are. But,
the tutters. The tutters. The mutters from the tutters. Listen, stay there. Tony Wilson, I know you've got to go, Director of the Institute for Employment Studies. It was an extraordinary call. We've had a few this morning.
Yeah.
What a story. What a story that call tells, doesn't it, Tony?
Well, it does, and I think those sorts of experiences, sadly, are more common than the ones that Amanda described at the start as well, about her experiences the suspicion that she faced in Job Centre Plus and her experiences of engaging with people. I think are more common than the ones of people being taxied to and from the pub and gaming it on assessment centres. I mean, the truth is, we don't know. We don't know the extent to which there might be people who are gaming the system or playing the descriptors. I think to some extent we have to trust, these are medical professionals making judgments against criteria that are pretty stringent. And I think in most cases, I think in the vast majority of cases, people are getting the benefit they're entitled to. The challenge, I think, with yesterday's announcement, so yesterday's measures, is fundamentally they're about reducing costs by making it harder for people to get a higher rate of benefit. And that's going to mean there'll be fewer people getting that higher benefit, and there'll be about £100 a week worse off as a result. And then more of those people will then be required to attend job centres. And if attending those job centres means they get access to the right employment support and health support, that can be a really positive thing. Like, I think that can be incredibly positive, and work can be really protective of your health. But if it's about people being monitored, being threatened with sanctions, being forced to attend meetings that they can't attend, and so on, then that can be damaging. And I think it's getting that balance right. A lot of the rhetoric this week hasn't been really positive or helpful, but the underlying stuff the government's announced around employment support, I think, is good, actually. And there's a lot of additional support available now. So it's how do we walk that balance? How do we get people the right support, but also make sure they've got enough income to live on while they're out of work?
Are medical people actually going to do the assessments, though? That's the thing, because currly that doesn't happen.
No, they should be doing them now.
When I went to the job centre initially, and when I've dealt with the DWP in the past, and you say, I've got an orthopaedic consultant who's one of the top orthopaedic consultants in the country, will you take my medical records and read them to prove my disability? Oh, we don't do that. You've got to be assessed. So they'll take.
No, that's awful.
Exactly.
No, and the government has said in the next parliament, so this will be for the next government, that they want to abolish the WCA system entirely and to have a new system. Now, for me, I think I would prefer that was based on actually the medical assessment by the GP or the medical professional who's working with the individual, and that's then determining what's expected of people and what benefit they get. But at the moment, we have this system where it's contracted out to other assessors, and I do think that's a problem. I totally agree.
Ross, let me. I'll try and come back to you, Ross. No. Yeah. What's your if I don't get a chance? What's your YouTube channel called? Sounds brilliant. What's it called?
Grow Your Own Life.
There you are. Right.
Yeah,
double plug.
Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. Yes. I'll take a bang on that one. Rebecca in Church Stretton. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello. I think much of my thunder has been stolen by Ros from Telford, because he's saying a lot of how I feel. I'm speaking on behalf of, I have a brother-in-law with Down syndrome, and my sister has had lifelong rheumatoid arthritis since